Welcome to The Oracle Scroll, a podcast for the spiritual seeker. Please join me, Kevin Walder, your host, as we explore living a spiritual life in a very mixed up world. Welcome back to The Oracle Scroll. This is episode 46. This is the first episode that we are embarking on a study of the minor arcana in the tarot deck. We've already talked at length about the majors and the characters that they are, and now the minor arcana comes along and fills in some of the narrative and also some of the characteristics of the characters that will make up our story. So it's kind of an interesting way of looking at the minor arcana. So when we go to explore it, we make use of just a very simple system, and believe me, this is not the only system, but it is a simple system for assigning meanings to the numeral cards, the cards that are numbered ace through 10. This will make it easier for us to follow along in a reading situation. The first set of three, the ace, the 2, and the 3, those are work cards. Those are get things done. And so when they show up, that's the advice they're giving you, is that there are various stages in that process. So beginning, middle, and end, but you are supposed to be doing that work. And so that's what the first 3 cards will represent. Then we move to the 4, 5, and 6, and those are adjustment, recuperation, learning some lessons, just basically minor adjustments, maybe not minor, some will be major, adjustments in our thinking and in our lives. And that's what the 4, 5, and 6 will help us with. And then we get to the 7, 8, the 9. Those are achievement cards. Those are the cards that talk about what we've accomplished. And the 10s come along and just complete the whole picture. And they add an element of new as well. So you're completing a cycle and beginning a new cycle. So it's a 2-part card. It's kind of like having another ace in the deck that will give us an opportunity to look forward again. So if we take these numeral cards and give them some rather basic meanings that we can pull up at any moment in a reading or just as we're meditating, whatever it is we use these cards to do. So if we were going to take them in order, the ace is establishing a new beginning. It's a brand new decision. And it's a very positive card. So then the 2 comes along, and that is the first acting on that decision. The first time that we put things together and formed a polarity that is actually going to accomplish something. And then the 3 is the first fruits from our new start. So the 3 is when you very first start to notice results, and you begin to adjust again as to how you're going to produce better results. But it's a beginning point. It's the very first fruits of a hopefully bountiful harvest. So then we move to the 4. And the 4 is, well, a chance to take a rest, a chance to look at where we've been in a little more detail than you were at the 3 and just adjust. So there's not a lot of action involved in this. It's more of an adjusting of your viewpoint and adjusting the way you will approach the future. So the 4s are sometimes called the nostalgia cards. They sometimes can involve a bit of looking back and trying to figure out how to bring more of that into your life once again. Then we have the 5s. The 5s. They're challenge cards. They're lessons to be learned, courses to be corrected. They are a challenge. Now, one thing to keep in mind with the fives, and this is something I always emphasize in a reading, they are not total derailments. They're not total destruction. They're not anything decisive like that. They can be as simple as just a little speed bump. They're just basically reminding us to, oops, hey, pay attention. Let's make sure we are on the right foot. That's, all those different things that go into accomplishing something. So the five is challenging, but it doesn't have to be something that will completely throw us off course. Then we come to the sixes. And the sixes are wonderful follow-ups to the fives, because you can really start to feel down on yourself after all of that introspection in the five. And the six is like, oh, thank God. We're out of that. It's over. The challenge has been met, and we're ready to take a moment to rest, recuperate, and just enjoy what we have. So actually, if you want to put a word on the six, it would be gratitude. It's a time to look around, appreciate what is present, and not be too concerned about what's missing. Then you have the seven. And the seven sometimes gets a bad rap, but I look at the seven as speaking to us about imagination and creative visualization. If you truly do accept that creating your future is within your power, creating your future is yours to direct, then the seven is a very good card for you. Next up is the eight. And after all of that mental work and the creative visualization and the putting yourself there and all of that work, the eight comes along and says, okay, let's do it. The eight comes along and says, it's time to manifest. Let's put that visualization to work. Let's prove it. And so the eight is another card that we talk about being somewhat like another ace in the deck. It's a launching card. It just says, hey, this is great. You've got a great idea going here. Let's move. Let's make it happen. Because we can get caught in that cycle of overthinking and rethinking and overthinking. And I know a lot about that. But anyway, I digress. So then we move on to the nines. After that manifestation that we just had, the nines are all about attainment and achievement and having the things that you have always sought in your life. Then the tens come along and they offer an added version of completion. So you can have an achievement and still have quite a lot of life left in you. The 10 says that, okay, this is coming to a conclusion and something new is beginning. So you are at a completing stage and beginning stage. So it makes the tens a two-part card. One of endings and new beginnings. So it's also another ace, because it gives you that opportunity of looking at the new beginnings. You know what's so special about beginnings? When you start to think about, if you think about the ace, you start to think about a new project. Do you ever consider all the issues and problems and oh my gosh before you get excited about it? No. All you can see is all the positive. It could do this, it could do that. Oh my goodness, what can we do with this? So the idea of launching and beginning is so positive, it overpowers any other distraction that might be there. So yes, I like those cards. Those are extremely useful cards because they keep us focused in the right direction. So then that kind of brings us up to the royal families, the court cards in the deck. Now, these cards, I veer off the traditional a little bit in my interpretation of them. These cards have often been thought of as representing the people that surround you, and they can be the kings and the queens may be the older people in your circle, and then the knights might be on your level, and the pages might be the younger people beneath you. Those are all okay. You can use that if you like, but I have brought this up to be a little more personal. I don't think it necessarily is talking about anybody outside of yourself, because each of us on an almost daily basis plays one of those four roles in any given situation. So we can sometimes be the king and we want things done and we want to put things in order. We can be the queen. We want things done, but we're willing to make concessions. We can be the knight we're ready to go to battle and do whatever we need to do to move anyone out of our way. Or we can be that little page that is innocent and just excited about life, loves to explore, goes around in, I always say, if you think about the energy of the page, it's kind of like taking a 2-year-old to the backyard for the first time. I mean, we've seen it a million times, but they have never seen it. They've never seen all the plants. They've never seen the butterflies. They've never seen any, and they go running gleefully from one thing to the next because that's the energy of the page. And we can do that too. Sometimes it takes a little more work for us to do that, but that's a role we need to play in our own lives. So, in a nutshell, that's what the royal card, the royal families, and the court cards. That's what they will represent. So, the king is all about assertive power. He's focused. He's firm. He's leadership personified. And then we move to the queen. Now, the queen is less assertive. She's a bit more passive, but she's powerfully passive. She's intuitive and she can be manipulative. And she doesn't consider that to be a problem. She considers that to be a strength, something that she can use over and over again. And then we have the knight, which is movement, protection, heroic. He's battle ready. He takes on anything at all without any regard for his own well-being. He's just there to fight it out and do the best he can to protect his king and his royal family. Then the page comes along, and as I've talked about, his youthful exuberance and childlike enthusiasm speaks to us of an earlier time. And if we can tap into that just for a few minutes every day, oh my goodness, what a difference it makes in the way you look at everything that surrounds you. So if we take a few moments and just go back to that numeral system that I talked about, I demonstrated this with an application of the suit of cups. In your own personal deck, you can actually use it and follow along to see how that system that I've just given you of the way the numerology works, that can work with your suit of cups. So, if you think about, the story begins with the ace. The ace of cups, that represents that very first interest. The first time that you notice that person and realize that, oh, you'd like to know them better. So that's the beginning. And then the 2 is that moment when you make that first call or that first text message, or that to ask that person if they would be interested in meeting you. That's 2. Then the 3 is your third date, and you're getting to know each other, and both of you seem to be enjoying the company. By the time you get to 4, you're beginning to realize that once new person in your life is becoming a much bigger part of your life and an important part of your daily routine. Then along comes the 5 to interject some reality into this little idyllic scene, because the 5 can represent your first disagreement. The first time, the very first time, that you looked at your new love and realized that they are not perfect at all. It's so disappointing. But it's a lesson, and that's what the 5s are all about. Then it comes to the 6, and you've come to accept that no one is perfect, not even yourself. So you make up, knowing that this new relationship is way too important to throw away over some minor disagreement. By the time you get to the 7, you've begun to daydream and imagine what it might be like spending your life with this new person, and you find yourself making plans. It sneaks up on us sometimes. Then at the 8, you're looking into the future, you're putting the plans to work, and you take this new relationship to the next level. 9 finds you both living the life and enjoying the fruits of your partnership after years and years of cooperation. And when you finally reach that 10, you have a long history together. And it's now time to pass along your legacy and accomplishments to a new generation. So if you pull out your deck when you have a chance and you get home, pull out your deck and take a look at the ace through 10 of the cups suit, and just see how the imagery will stack up with what we've just said. It's a very simple system, and it works very well. And for someone like myself who does not necessarily do rote memorization very well, that is very helpful. So having a system is helpful. So I look forward to getting more involved with the minor arcana and talking some more about the cards. So we will be doing that as we make subsequent episodes of the Oracle Scroll. Please join us when you can and share the word. Let as many people around you know about the Oracle Scroll. It's a kind of fun place to learn. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Oracle Scroll. Please forward any questions, comments, or inquiries to theoraclescroll@gmail.com, and we'll look forward to entertaining you again very soon in the next episode.